Most fighters only realize the danger when it is already too late. By the time Naoya Inoue steps into rhythm, the fight has usually slipped beyond recovery. His opponents enter the ring believing they have prepared for his speed, his power, and his relentless pressure, but preparation means little once the punches begin flying. Inoue is not just explosive, he is precise. Every jab measures distance, every feint creates hesitation, and every combination carries the threat of ending the fight instantly. That is what separates him from ordinary champion. He does not waste movement, energy, or opportunity. Fighters quickly discover that surviving him requires more than toughness. It requires perfection, and perfection rarely lasts under pressure. Over the years, champions, contenders, and undefeated hopefuls all learned the same brutal lesson. Signing the contract with the Monster meant entering one of boxing's most unforgiving examinations, where even a single mistake could become the beginning of the end before they even understood what happened. Naoya Inoue has already established himself as one of the greatest lower-weight fighters boxing has ever seen. In Japan, many already call him the greatest boxer the nation has produced. A remarkable achievement considering the country's long and respected boxing history. What makes Inoue terrifying is not simply his knockout power, but the fact that he continues to improve with every fight. His timing has sharpened, his defense has become more refined, and his patience inside the ring now matches his aggression. Early in his career, he overwhelmed opponents with pure speed and destructive combinations. Today, he breaks them down, mentally before finishing them physically. Watching Inoue fight feels like watching a master solve a puzzle in real time. He studies reactions, patterns, and weaknesses with extraordinary calm. Then, suddenly, the opening appears, and the attack comes in waves. Fans admire his knockouts, but seasoned observers understand that his ring intelligence is equally dangerous. Every performance strengthens his growing reputation as a once-in-a-generation fighter whose ceiling still seems frighteningly high. When Paul Butler agreed to fight Naoya Inoue, many respected his courage. Butler was experienced, disciplined, and defensively sound. He carried himself like a fighter who believed he could survive difficult moments and frustrate elite opponents. Yet against Inoue, survival alone was never going to be enough. From the opening bell, Butler looked cautious, aware that one careless exchange could end the fight instantly. Inoue controlled distance with his jab, touching the body, probing for openings, and slowly tightening the pressure around his opponent. Butler's supporters filled the arena with noise, hoping their fighter could somehow rise above expectations. But the atmosphere changed quickly once Inoue settled into his rhythm. Every movement from the Japanese champion looked balanced and calculated. Butler occasionally landed small counters, but they never disrupted Inoue's control. The problem was psychological as much as physical. Butler fought like a man trying not to lose, rather than a man trying to win. Against someone as clinical as Inoue, that mentality eventually becomes fatal. One of the most terrifying aspects of Inoue's style is how calmly he applies pressure. He does not recklessly charge forward looking for chaos. Instead, he advances, with intelligence, cutting angles and closing escape routes little by little. Against Butler, this became painfully obvious. Every time Butler attempted lateral movement, Inoue adjusted his feet perfectly to keep him trapped within punching range. The body shots began accumulating early, each one designed to remove energy and confidence simultaneously. Inoue mixed jabs, hooks, uppercuts, and straight rights without losing balance. His combinations flowed naturally, almost mechanically, as if every sequence had already been rehearsed 1,000 times. Commentators described his teeter-totter punching technique, where one side of the body generates torque, while the opposite side prepares the next strike. That coordination gave his punches frightening power despite their compact motion. Butler tried to remain patient, but patience against relentless technical pressure eventually becomes paralysis. By the middle rounds, he was no longer trying to dictate the fight. He was simply trying to survive it. As the rounds passed, Inoue became increasingly confident. He lowered his hands, leaned forward, and even invited Butler to throw punches. To many viewers, it looked reckless, but in reality, it was calculated dominance. Inoue understood Butler's hesitation and used it against him psychologically. He baited attacks, slipped shots by inches, and answered instantly with brutal counters to the body and head. Butler occasionally landed combinations, but they lacked the authority necessary to shift momentum. Inoue's reactions remained sharp, his defense tight whenever danger appeared. What stood out most was his composure. He fought like a man sparring in the gym rather than competing for undisputed status on the world stage. Even when Butler attempted to become more aggressive in the later rounds, Inoue adapted immediately. He anticipated patterns, timed the jab, and punished every predictable movement. The pressure became suffocating. By round 8, Butler's offense had nearly disappeared entirely. The English fighter remained brave, but bravery without effective offense only delayed the inevitable against someone operating at Inoue's terrifying level. Eventually, the fight reached its unavoidable conclusion. After round of pressure, body attacks, and technical dominance, Inoue finally opened Butler up completely. The Japanese champion exploded forward with sharp combinations, overwhelming Butler before the referees stepped in to stop the punishment. It took longer than many expected, but the result still reflected total domination. Butler's toughness earned respect, yet toughness alone could not bridge the enormous skill gap separating him from Inoue. The fight demonstrated something important about the monster. He does not always chase reckless knockouts. Sometimes, he is content to slowly dismantle opponents, forcing them into hopeless situations where resistance becomes meaningless. By the final bell, Butler looked like a fighter who had spent 11 rounds trying to understand a language he could never fully speak. Inoue had unified the bantamweight division and strengthened his reputation as one of boxing's most complete champions. More importantly, he reminded the world that even highly skilled professionals often look helpless once he begins applying sustained pressure over time. Ramon Cardenas entered his fight against Inoue carrying genuine confidence. Unlike many challengers overwhelmed before the opening bell, Cardenas believed he possessed the timing and toughness necessary to trouble the Japanese superstar. Early on, that confidence seemed justified. Cardenas stayed composed, used a disciplined, high guard, and looked willing to exchange in dangerous areas of the ring. Inoue immediately began measuring distance with his jab, but Cardenas answered back sharply. He refused to retreat mentally, even while facing one of the most feared punchers in boxing. Observers quickly noticed something unusual. Cardenas was faster and more competitive than many expected. He countered aggressively, attacked between combinations, and forced Inoue to think carefully before entering range. Unlike previous opponents who froze under pressure, Cardenas looked energized by the challenge. That attitude changed the atmosphere entirely. Instead of a one-sided showcase, the fight suddenly felt dangerous and unpredictable. For the first time in a while, fans sensed that Inoue might actually need to overcome real adversity to secure victory.